Hello and welcome to the Belmont Journal News Now. I'm your host, Mike Crowley, and we are joined live by Tom Caputo, Chair of the Board of Selectmen, and Patrice Garvin, Town Administrator. How are both of you?
Good.
Doing well, thanks, Mike.
All right, well, it's so great that you were able to join us. So the COVID-19 crisis is continuing. How's this impacting town operations?
So I'll take a shot at that first, and I'm sure Patrice can provide a lot of the details. But at a high level, it has been a challenge, without a doubt. I think it's unprecedented scenario that we're experiencing, and as much as you try to plan for the unexpected, I think this one has got everybody a bit trying to figure it out as we go. I think the good news is I think all the town services, all the essential services are still being provided. So police, fire, DPW, those services, while there's been changes in the protocols, are still available to town residents. In addition, the core central services from the town administration, I'd say, are also largely operating. The offices are closed, so if you need to interact with any of those departments, you should do so via email and phone. But we have worked out a good work from home relationship or arrangement for a number of the employees, and still have a skeleton staff that are working in the department offices where necessary.
So you actually sort of touched on what my next question was, which was, with town offices closed and if residents need to do business with the town, you're advising that they call or email and somebody will answer them.
We are. Patrice, would you like to speak? Maybe you could
Sure.
speak to the specifics.
Sure. So as Tom mentioned, we're operating under a skeleton crew. What that means is currently about 50% of the employees for the admin are working from home remotely, and 50% are actually physically in the office. As you can see, I'm in my office now. So people who are in can assist people that call and through email. And then those who are working remotely, we forwarded office phones to those employees. So if you call an extension that's listed online, you'll be able to get that office and that employee that you're looking for. And of course, we're always replying to emails. I would like to say that on behalf of the residents of Belmont, I want to thank all the employees in town who are continuing to perform the critical duties of the town, continuing to offer all the services that the town provides, obviously during this time of when we're trying to social distance and be mindful of what's going on in the world. So
We're all very thankful for that. Does the town have the resources that it needs to operate right now? And what I'm thinking about are departments like the health department, the emergency operations center, police and fire. We've not experienced the worst of the crisis, perhaps, in terms of the demand that may be placed on them. But as this expands, will they have the resources that they need?
So police and fire currently have all the resources they need to operate. Obviously, this is going to change as circumstances change and how long this kind of goes out. But the critical services are being provided in the community. As you know, we have mutual aid agreements with surrounding towns. So for police and fire, we really don't see any disruption in the services at this time. Again, that could change as circumstances change. Belmont shares a public health nurse, David Nylon, with the town of Lexington. Per the agreement, the nurse works in Belmont for 2 days a week, but I can tell the residents that since this crisis has started, David has been more than accessible to us. He makes himself available day and night to the needs of the town. The head nurse, Beth Rumley, in the public school department, has extended an offer to the Belmont Board of Health to help in any way she can during the crisis. They've done some training sessions with the public nurse, the Board of Health nurse, and the school nurse. So there's really a good collaboration in town that's going on right now. We are also in constant communication with the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. They have weekly calls, if not sometimes more than once a week. I sit in on some of those calls, so I'm up to speed on what's going on. And we have general reminders on the website. We are posting as often as we can. There is a a stat on the town's cases in town that we put up daily. Those change on a daily basis, and we've been doing that. We also have a link to the Massachusetts Department of Public Health website right underneath that. So it's important that residents continue to take the proper precautions, and we're constantly reminding the residents of that, and to obviously practice social distancing. So as of right now, we're in good shape, and
Okay.
as things change, we'll see what happens.
As the crisis unfolds, so you've already said that we have the resources that we need currently to address the crisis, but and I realize that it's difficult to anticipate everything that might unfold with this kind of really unparalleled kind of situation. But is there a potential challenge to the town's budget for this year, or does what's happening now create challenges for next year's budget?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes, probably to both of those things. So, COVID-19 and any associated impact will hit us from a revenue perspective. Things like excise tax, meals tax, state aid. And we anticipate that all of these things are going to ultimately have some level of impact. Some of that will hit this year. We may incur additional overtime costs, et cetera. Some of it will actually play out in years to come. So we're tracking all of it. We're looking at the FY20 budget, which is our current budget that we're in. We're on a fiscal year that starts in July that will then pick up a new budget for FY21, and recognizing that some of what we had planned for FY21 will probably play out differently, and thinking about how we need to make adjustments to address that. We already have some indication that state aid will very likely change and change for the worse. And we'll have to take a look at what that means from a budgeting perspective as we move into finalizing the budget for next year.
So another question that I had was about this issue of state aid. I was wondering whether under the emergency declaration, the governor's emergency declaration, whether we were likely to see any increases in state or federal assistance.
So we've already received $10,000 from the state to help with additional costs associated with the Board of Health. So that's we're optimistic that there will be additional funds available, and we're paying attention to what's available. We're tracking our expenses associated with COVID-19 carefully, so that to the degree those opportunities open up, we're making sure that we are taking advantage of them.
Again, it's difficult to foresee the future. Any thoughts about currently about, what things might look like for a potential override come next fall, given what we're going through now?
Yes, so I think it's a new world order. So we're taking a look at those that are on town meeting or are following the school committee or the select board or the warrant committee in recent meetings will know that the town has Proposition 2.5 override in November. We do have, going into FY22, a structural deficit. So FY21 it looked like we had a balanced budget. FY22, there is a structural deficit. So we were contemplating an override in November. At this stage, I think it certainly is too early to make a decision one way or another, but I think it is fair to say that there's been conversations now, a number of folks involved with the financial task force, the town administration, the schools, the warrant committee, the school committee, thinking about what does this mean for FY21? What does it mean for subsequent years? And does it impact the way that we think about override? But for the moment, I'd say, the focus is on kind of getting through the challenges we have now, thinking about the upcoming budget for 21 that we need to get finalized. And then we'll think about the override in the weeks and months that follow.
Is there any assistance that the town can offer people who, perhaps as a consequence of COVID-19, have lost jobs or income and might struggle with tax bills? Is there anything? Is this something that's entered into town discussions about ways to respond?
So we've been looking at providing services to residents in all areas. Currently on the website, we're trying to connect residents with some social services. As you know, the situation changes from day to day. The main focus today is to provide continuous governmental services to the residents. I will say the governor has introduced some legislation for towns to consider a local option to delay the payment of taxes, I believe until June 1st. And the town awaits a decision from the state as to that.
How is COVID-19, the crisis, how is this affecting construction, if at all, of our new middle and high school and the work that's being done on the police and DPW facilities?
So we're paying attention to the guidance that we're getting from the governor's office. The most recent guidance has deemed construction as an essential activity. Okay. So with that in mind, construction in Belmont continues to go on. The governor did say yesterday that the state plans to issue guidance soon to help ensure additional worker safety measures are put into place on all construction sites. And we're confident that the construction that occurs in Belmont will, I'm certain, see to it adheres to whatever additional guidelines are put in place. The middle and high school building committee, which Patrice and I are both members, that building committee is meeting tomorrow morning. And I know from looking at the agenda and exchanging emails with that, we'll be talking about COVID-19 as part of that discussion as well. So it certainly is a topic of discussion. But for the moment, construction goes on.
Okay. And the town election is postponed or?
Correct. At this point, we are looking to a postponement of the town election. Legislation recently was passed in the State House that gives the select board in municipalities with upcoming elections the opportunity to push that election out to a date certain, 30th. So we will be, as a select board, meeting on Thursday night. We have a relatively short agenda, but one of the topics will be to discuss postponement of the election. And while decisions have not formally been made, I think there's a recognition that it will be tough and perhaps unsafe to hold an election on April 7th. So we'll very likely be looking to a postponement.
My last question is, how are the two of you coping, you and your families? How is this affecting you?
Patrice, you want to go first?
Well, considering my son just found out he's a senior in high school, I'm going to be hearing it when I get home tonight about the recent order from the governor to extend the closing. But it's been challenging. Figuring out a way to provide service to the public and not interact with the public is definitely a challenge. I can tell you the select board has been great. They've been very supportive, encouraging, and there are some long days, but we're here to provide services to the residents, and we're going to keep doing that as long as we can.
Tom?
Yeah, it has certainly been challenging. I've been in some work from home environments in the past, but this is like nothing that I have ever dealt with, both in terms of my kind of day-to-day work job, but also making sure that I'm supporting Patrice and being part of the town process here. So it's been taxing. Family generally is doing pretty well, which is great. My daughters are going a bit stir crazy, not unlike Patrice's, and they were pretty disappointed to hear that school had been canceled or closed for another couple of weeks. But everyone's hanging in there. I will say, if I might, just to fine point on it, I think the community has really been pretty impressive in Belmont. The town employees in particular have really stepped up in a particularly challenging time, so very much appreciate that. The residents have been great. I have seen residents expressing interest and working to take care of neighbors and be supportive in the community. And I know we have in this town quite a few people that are working in the medical professions and grocery and the essential services that we need as a community going forward, and everyone's doing their part. So it's been great to see, and I'll on behalf of the select board and the residents want to thank you for all they do and acknowledge that I'm sure a bumpy couple of weeks, if not more, as we work through this, but thanks to everybody for doing their part.
Well, thank you so much, Tom and Patrice. And I can certainly relate to kids not being happy about not having contact with friends. So we wish you all the best, and we're thankful for everything that you're doing, and we'll talk with you again, I hope.
Thanks, Mike.
Likewise. Looking
Okay,
forward to it.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Mike.